In relationships, a male operates differently from the rest. Unlike alphas, who seek dominance, or betas, who crave validation, a sigma values independence, peace, and self-mastery above all. He does not tolerate drama, manipulation, or anything that disrupts his personal freedom. If a relationship no longer aligns with his values or drains his energy, he won't argue or beg, he will simply walk away without looking back. So, what are the key signs that make a sigma male decide to leave a relationship? Let's dive in. 1. Disrespect and lack of appreciation. The sigma male, often characterized by his independent spirit and intrinsic sense of self-worth, operates within a framework of mutual respect and reciprocal appreciation. He understands that a healthy relationship is built on a foundation of equality, where both partners feel valued and understood. Therefore, when faced with persistent disrespect or a lack of appreciation, he possesses the self-assurance and autonomy to disengage, recognizing that his time and energy are better invested elsewhere. Disrespect, in its various forms, acts as a corrosive agent, slowly eroding the foundation of any relationship. It can manifest as overt belittling, undermining his decisions, or dismissing his opinions. For the sigma male, such behavior is not merely an insult, it's a fundamental violation of his core values. He views himself as an equal partner, not a subordinate, and he refuses to tolerate a dynamic where his autonomy and judgment are consistently questioned. He understands that a relationship built on disrespect is inherently unsustainable, leading to resentment and eventual dissolution. Similarly, a lack of appreciation, while often more subtle, can be equally damaging. The sigma male, while driven by intrinsic motivation, still values acknowledgement for his efforts and contributions. He doesn't seek constant praise, but he expects his partner to recognize and appreciate the value he brings to the relationship. When his efforts are consistently overlooked or dismissed, he feels undervalued and unappreciated. This lack of acknowledgement can lead to feelings of resentment and a sense of emotional disconnect, ultimately pushing him away. The sigma male's decision to disengage in such situations is not an act of aggression or vindictiveness. It's a demonstration of his self-respect and his understanding of healthy relationship dynamics. He refuses to compromise his values or settle for a relationship that diminishes his sense of worth. He understands that his time and energy are valuable resources, and he chooses to invest them in relationships where he feels respected and appreciated. 2. Clinginess and neediness. A figure often associated with self-reliance and a profound appreciation for solitude, navigates relationships with a distinct understanding of autonomy and personal space. He values independence, both his own and that of his partner, and therefore, perceives clinginess and neediness as a direct threat to this delicate balance. When confronted with a partner who exhibits excessive dependence, he instinctively recoils, creating distance to preserve his sense of self and maintain his equilibrium. Clinginess, in this context, extends beyond simple affection. It manifests as an insatiable need for constant contact and validation. It encroaches upon his personal space, both physical and emotional, stifling the very essence of his independent nature. The sigma male, who thrives on solitude, views this constant demand for attention as an intrusion, a violation of his inherent need for autonomy. He perceives it as a burden, a weight that threatens to suffocate his spirit. Neediness, similarly, presents a significant challenge. It places the responsibility for emotional stability squarely on his shoulders, creating an imbalance that he finds unsustainable. He refuses to become the sole source of his partner's emotional well-being, recognizing that such a dynamic is inherently unhealthy and ultimately unsustainable. The sigma male understands that true emotional maturity involves self-sufficiency, and he expects his partner to possess a similar level of emotional independence. Dependence, the most extreme form of these behaviors, is particularly repellent to the sigma male. It signals a lack of self-reliance and an inability to function autonomously. He views it as a weakness, a sign of emotional immaturity. He understands that a healthy relationship is built on mutual respect and interdependence, not on one partner relying on the other for their very sense of self. The Sigma male's response to these behaviors is not rooted in callousness or a lack of empathy. Rather, it stems from a deep-seated understanding of his own needs and a commitment to maintaining healthy boundaries. He recognizes that enabling such behaviors ultimately harms both parties, fostering a dynamic of codependence and resentment. He chooses to distance himself, not out of malice, but out of a desire to preserve his own well-being and to encourage his partner to cultivate a sense of self-sufficiency. 3. Drama and manipulation. He operates within a framework of logic and reason, valuing clarity and directness over emotional theatrics. Consequently, when confronted with a relationship saturated in drama, manipulation, or mind games, he opts for a silent and decisive exit, recognizing that engaging in such behaviors would be a futile and detrimental endeavor. Drama, in its various forms, represents an unwelcome disruption to the Sigma male's carefully cultivated sense of inner peace. He views it as a waste of time and energy, a distraction from his more meaningful pursuits. He possesses a low tolerance for emotional outbursts, unnecessary arguments, and the constant need for attention that often characterizes dramatic relationships. He understands that such dynamics are inherently unproductive and ultimately draining. Manipulation, a more insidious form of drama, is particularly repellent to the Sigma male. He values authenticity and direct communication, and he views manipulative tactics as a fundamental violation of trust. He refuses to engage in power struggles or mind games, recognizing that such behaviors are designed to control and manipulate rather than to foster genuine connection. He understands that a relationship built on manipulation is inherently toxic and ultimately unsustainable. Mind games, the subtlest form of manipulation, are equally unacceptable to the Sigma male. He values clarity and transparency, and he views attempts to confuse or mislead as a sign of disrespect. He refuses to participate in psychological warfare, recognizing that such behaviors are designed to undermine his sense of reality and control his emotions. He understands that a healthy relationship is built on honesty and open communication, not on deception and manipulation. The Sigma male's response to these behaviors is not rooted in cowardice or a lack of emotional intelligence. Rather, it stems from a profound understanding of his own needs and a commitment to maintaining his emotional well-being. He recognizes that engaging in drama, manipulation, or mind games would be a futile and detrimental endeavor, draining his energy and compromising his sense of self. He chooses to silently walk away, not out of malice, but out of a desire to preserve his inner peace and to cultivate relationships built on respect and authenticity. 4. Lack of intelligence or deep conversations. The Sigma male, often characterized by his introspective nature and intellectual curiosity, thrives in environments that stimulate his mind and foster meaningful connection. He values depth of thought, intellectual exploration, and the exchange of ideas that transcend the superficial. Consequently, a partner who lacks intellectual depth or demonstrates an inability to engage in thought-provoking discussions will find his interest waning, as the essential element of mental stimulation is absent. The Sigma male's introspective nature drives him to seek understanding beyond the surface level. He is drawn to exploring complex concepts, delving into philosophical inquiries, and engaging in discussions that challenge his perspectives. He views intellectual exchange as a form of connection, a way to share his inner world and explore the depths of another's mind. He values a partner who can reciprocate this intellectual curiosity, engaging in discussions that expand his understanding of the world and himself. A lack of intellectual depth, in this context, does not necessarily imply a lack of formal education. Rather, it refers to a lack of curiosity, a disinterest in exploring ideas beyond the mundane, and an inability to engage in meaningful discourse. The Sigma male finds himself intellectually stifled in such an environment, unable to share his thoughts and explore his intellectual passions. He views this lack of mental stimulation as a significant barrier to connection, creating a sense of isolation and detachment. Similarly, an inability to engage in thought-provoking discussions further exacerbates this disconnect. The Sigma male values a partner who can challenge his perspectives, offer insightful observations, and engage in intellectual sparring. He seeks a partner who can stimulate his mind and expand his horizons, not one who limits the scope of their interactions to superficial topics. He views intellectual compatibility as a crucial component of a fulfilling relationship. The Sigma male's response to this lack of intellectual stimulation is not rooted in arrogance or a sense of superiority. Rather, it stems from a deep-seated need for mental connection and a desire to engage with a partner on a deeper level. He recognizes that intellectual compatibility is essential for a fulfilling relationship, and he refuses to compromise his own needs for the sake of a connection that lacks intellectual depth. 5. Violation of his personal space. His profound respect for autonomy and a deep-seated need for personal space operates within a framework of self-reliance and independence. He views his solitude as a sanctuary, a space for introspection and rejuvenation. Consequently, any encroachment upon this sacred space, whether physical or emotional, is perceived as a fundamental violation of his core values, prompting a swift and decisive severance of ties. The concept of personal space extends beyond mere physical boundaries for the Sigma male. It encompasses his emotional and intellectual domains as well. Constant intrusion, whether through excessive questioning, unwarranted surveillance, or attempts to control his actions, is perceived as an assault on his autonomy. He values his freedom to operate independently, to pursue his own interests, and to cultivate his inner world without external interference. Constant invasion of privacy, whether through snooping, monitoring, or attempts to access his personal information, is particularly egregious. The Sigma male views his privacy as inviolable, a fundamental right that should be respected without question. He perceives such intrusions as a profound breach of trust, signaling a lack of respect for his boundaries and a desire to control his life. Attempts to control his freedom, whether through dictating his schedule, limiting his social interactions, or restricting his movements, are equally unacceptable. The Sigma male values his independence and refuses to be confined by the expectations or demands of others. He views attempts to control his freedom as a form of imprisonment, a stifling of his spirit and a denial of his inherent right to self-determination. The Sigma male's response to these violations is not rooted in aggression or a desire to dominate. Rather, it stems from a profound understanding of his own needs and a commitment to preserving his personal integrity. He recognizes that compromising his personal space and freedom would ultimately lead to resentment and a loss of self-respect. He chooses to cut ties quickly, not out of malice, but out of a desire to protect his well-being and to cultivate relationships built on mutual respect and autonomy. 6. Dishonesty and betrayal. Dishonesty, in its myriad forms, represents a direct assault on the Sigma male's sense of trust and his perception of reality. He values transparency and direct communication, and he views lies, whether large or small, as a betrayal of the fundamental principles upon which he bases his interactions. He understands that a relationship built on deception is inherently fragile and ultimately unsustainable. Betrayal, a more profound form of dishonesty, strikes at the very heart of the Sigma male's sense of loyalty and commitment. Whether it manifests as infidelity, broken promises, or the violation of confidential information, betrayal shatters the foundation of trust upon which he builds his relationships. He views it as a personal affront, a deliberate act of disrespect that cannot be easily forgiven or forgotten. The Sigma male's response to these transgressions is not rooted in emotional volatility or a desire for retribution. Rather, it stems from a deep-seated understanding of his own values and a commitment to maintaining his personal integrity. He recognizes that forgiving dishonesty and betrayal would ultimately compromise his sense of self and undermine his ability to trust in future relationships. He chooses to leave without looking back, not out of malice, but out of a desire to protect his emotional well-being and to cultivate relationships built on honesty and loyalty. This unwavering stance on honesty and betrayal extends beyond romantic relationships, influencing how the Sigma male interacts with the world at large. He values authenticity and integrity in all his interactions, and he refuses to engage in relationships, whether personal or professional, where these values are compromised. His ability to walk away from deceitful situations is not a sign of coldness or detachment, it's a testament to his strength of character and his unwavering commitment to his own moral compass. 7. Lack of growth and ambition. The Sigma male's inherent drive for growth stems from a deep-seated desire to maximize his potential and contribute meaningfully to the world around him. He views life as a dynamic process, a constant evolution, and he seeks a partner who shares this perspective. He values a partner who is not content with the status quo, who is driven to explore new horizons, and who is committed to personal and professional development. Stagnation, in this context, represents a fundamental incompatibility. The Sigma male perceives a lack of growth as a form of intellectual and emotional atrophy, a refusal to embrace the dynamic nature of life. He finds himself uninspired by a partner who is content with complacency, who lacks a drive for self-improvement, and who exhibits a resistance to change. Similarly, a lack of motivation further exacerbates this disconnect. The Sigma male is driven by a powerful internal compass, a sense of purpose that fuels his actions and guides his decisions. He seeks a partner who shares this intrinsic motivation, who is driven by passion and a desire to achieve their goals. He finds himself uninspired by a partner who lacks this internal drive, who relies on external validation, and who exhibits a passive approach to life. The absence of ambition, the lack of a forward-looking vision and a drive to achieve meaningful goals, is equally detrimental. The Sigma male values a partner who shares his ambitious spirit, who is driven to make a positive impact on the world, and who is committed to building a fulfilling future. He finds himself uninspired by a partner who lacks this forward-thinking mindset, who is content with mediocrity, and who exhibits a lack of long-term vision. The Sigma male's response to these qualities is not rooted in arrogance or a sense of superiority. Rather, it stems from a deep-seated need for intellectual and emotional stimulation, and a desire to share his journey of growth with a like-minded partner. He recognizes that a relationship built on stagnation and a lack of ambition is inherently unsustainable, leading to a sense of unfulfillment and eventual disconnect. He chooses to disengage, not out of malice, but out of a desire to cultivate relationships that foster mutual growth and inspire a shared vision for the future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot and helps us create more great content for you. See you in the next video.